Um, so my name is Gayle Fitzgerald. I grew up in North Carolina in the mountains, and I moved to Raleigh when my children were still quite small. Um, and this became our home, and it was a long time that I did not go to church. I guess I was raised in a conservative Baptist church, and there was the Methodist church pretty close by, and we went there a few times, but not much. And then later on, after my divorce, and I had met Bob and everything, he said, I think there's a Unitarian church over on Wade Avenue. But before that, we had been in a bookstore together, a used bookstore, and there was a little book there on Unitarian Universalism, and he handed it to me and said, I think you might want to know about this. And I had never heard of them before. So I read the little book, and he suggested us going to church one Sunday, and the rest is history. I didn't ever dream there was a church of which I would really feel comfortable. And after we had been going there for a while, and Bob and I had decided to get married, my father was down here. We were conservative Southern Baptist in the mountains. And my father came down here, and we told him that we were going to get married, and his very first question is, who's going to conduct the service? And I told him the UU minister. This makes me cry every time I talk about it. But he just said, I hope you have found a group that loves you.
The church was sort of struggling in a lot of ways because of various things. We wanted to grow, but really didn't have space, and there were some people were happy with the way things were, and some weren't, and it became a kind of thing where there was sort of some anxiousness and turmoil. And Gayle thought and knew about the fact that UUs in some places carried out what they called cottage meetings, and it was sort of a way of allowing all the members of the church to gather in small groups and discuss what they thought about the church and what they thought was wrong, and what they'd like to see, and how things wanted to change. And you can take it from there.
Okay.
This was.
So I just set up a little table outside the sanctuary, and as people came out, I started asking them to sign up for a cottage meeting. They had had cottage meetings before, but the people had been assigned according to where they lived. And I decided that people could go wherever they wanted to. And so I let them sign up for the cottage meeting they wanted to go to. The reason I did that is I thought they would feel more comfortable talking among friends when friends were there, or acquaintances, than to be assigned to a group that they didn't know very well. So we conducted the cottage meetings, and Bob found the notebook back there. We recorded everything that was said. And I came back and just started listing them, and I did a little spreadsheet about what are the main topics that the people seemed interested in. And it was pretty clear that they wanted a new minister. They wanted more space. I think those were
They wanted some better space and programming for RE.
Right. Yeah.
Religious education. Those were the three things that sort of came out of there. It wasn't necessarily that they didn't necessarily say that we had to dump the minister. But there was a lot of concern about we need
More
what they
inspirational
called
services.
more inspirational, and a lot of people use the term spiritual, which I'm not sure how they meant that. But anyway, the messages that they got on Sunday morning, they thought could be improved, and
So that led to change, big change. But we had lots of help. There were other people who were willing to work at it, who also wanted those changes made, and
So did that precipitate Morris Hutchins leaving?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the long run, this wasn't, it wasn't
shut
an
down.
immediate kind of thing. But, the thing that was the most immediate probably was that, there was interest in building, more space. And, that was, of course, takes a long time to get started, and I realized that we skipped over a point here because while we were talking about just meeting in Peace Hall, between that time and the time the cottage meeting started, we did have the lower part of the other building constructed. That was that started about 1990 and ended about 5 or 6 years later. Not that long, 4 or 5 years. And we also had and it's around that time, after that was finished, that Morris left, and that, I'm not sure we need to go into all the things that, there was more involved later on with him than just the fact that the sermons weren't quite as good. He'd come to the conclusion that UUA was pushing an idea that I always thought was a little strange, but it was that there could be Christian UU churches. And he somehow thought that was a good idea, and that we might want to try doing that in the Raleigh church. Well, that was about as popular then as it would be today. and that greatly harmed his influence in the church, and led to his decision and the church's decision that we probably should part ways. But it was reasonably amenable towards the end, and we were went on a search, and
it was a tense time.
And Gayle was on the search committee to find a new minister.
And as a result of that search, we hired Julie Denny Hughes, which was a pretty popular person. She gave very, very good sermons. What made them good? She was funny.
Very relaxed.
Right. And being a woman and being a good minister, we grew some. People wanted to come to the church when she was there. So having a great minister really makes a big difference, as James does, I think.